Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today's video is going to be a little bit more boring than usual, unless you're really into tax and business stuff, but I do think it is necessary stuff to talk about. So in today's video, we're going to go over just kind of a brief overview of some tax implications and things you need to be considering on the tax front of your Amazon business, some business setup and sort of housekeeping things that you should be doing in January, and then looking into insurance and some other issues. All right, so let's dive into this. The reason why I wanted to talk about this now in January is because this is sort of like the lull for Amazon. We're just coming out of Q4. Sales are massive. They're flying off the shelf last month and 2 months ago. And now you might be feeling like you're doing something wrong or the business isn't working or something like that. But that's just the nature of January. Just people aren't buying stuff on January 13th compared to Black Friday and compared to the week before Christmas. It's the nature of the beast. Now, because of that, you should utilize this time to get your ducks in a row, to work on your account, to work on the business side, to work on the more boring, mundane things that you don't necessarily want to do when there's really big sales going on. All right. So that's what we're talking about today. As far as taxes, there's sort of two different sides to this. So there are your business taxes and there's sales taxes. Those are two entirely separate things. I'll briefly touch on both. Now, I do need to preface this with I am not a tax professional. I'm not giving you tax advice. I'm not a legal professional. I'm not giving you legal advice. You need to go and talk to those professionals when you are actually going and doing these official things. Okay. I will give you general overview concepts, and I'll give you a couple sort of basic tips as far as what to do and where to look for them. But for the actual process, you really need to go to professionals because that's what their whole job is. It's a paid profession. They pay well, and it's because it's a very difficult process. Okay, so the first thing I want to touch on is your business taxes. Okay, so Amazon just released this. I'm going to share my screen up here. Amazon just released this. If you go to sellercentral.amazon.com and you look front and center right in the little announcement bar, there's this news section. They say the IRS Form 1099 availability. So if you generated over $20,000 and had 200 or more transactions in 2019, you'll be able to download the IRS Form 1099K. All right. But this is the important part. No later than January 31st, 2020. Make sure that you guys are doing this before the end of January. This is very important stuff. All right. And that's if you consent to the e-delivery. If you didn't do the e-delivery stuff, then they'll send you a letter in the mail by February 1st. They said right there. All right. So that's really important stuff you need to take care of. This is for your business taxes. What you're going to do is take that 1099 form, give it to your accountant along with everything else that your accountant asks for. Talk to your accountant about what you need. They're probably going to ask you for some of like your inventory valuation sheets, some of like your cost of goods, other subscriptions or business costs that you incurred over the course of the year. So those are the types of things that your accountant is going to ask for. So get all that stuff ready and talk to them. I do not recommend trying to do this yourself. It's different. We always did our personal taxes ourselves. And when we became business owners, it sort of opened our eyes to a couple things. First, we saved so much more in taxes by having someone else do it than trying to do it ourselves, because there were so many legal loopholes and things like that that I just wasn't aware of, that the accountant was paid to know. All right. So accountants, in our experience, have always more than paid for themselves. We've always had a positive ROI on anything we've spent on the account. So, I mean, that alone to me makes it a no-brainer. But then as a business owner, there's also sort of what your time is valued at now, because at this point in time, as a business owner, I can go at any point in time. I can go drive to Walmart or Walgreens or wherever else, and I can start scanning items. And I know pretty definitively what I could potentially find in an hour's worth of scanning items at Walmart. I mean, I could make $100, $200, $300 in an hour just scanning stuff at Walmart. And so I sort of have to compare that to the value of if I'm trying to do my own taxes or learn tax law for myself. It's just not really worth my time. My time is better spent doing my high value and high income actions and letting these more complicated low income actions, outsourcing those. All right. So this is just one of those things. You should outsource your prepping. You should outsource your taxes. Okay. So that's my recommendation for business taxes. Now, sales tax is an entirely different beast. I'm actually going through and working on it today. I just got our 2020 Florida reseller certificate, but sales tax is a slightly different beast. What you need to do is to get your sales tax exempt card. Now, every state calls it something slightly different, but the general idea is uh, like a reseller certificate or a sales tax exempt card, something along those lines. Your state will call it something similar to that. And the general idea is you don't need to be paying sales tax on the stuff that you are buying retail to sell to other customers. That's the government would sort of be double dipping if they got tax on both ends of it, and they don't need that. That's not a requirement. So you can get exempt from paying all of that tax for the most part. So what you're going to need to do in order to actually get exempt and get all that stuff official, you're going to need to first make sure that you have formed your business entity. It doesn't matter what your business entity is. And this is another one of the points that I wanted to go over anyways for 2020. If you have not yet made this business an official business, set it up. It usually costs you do it through your own state, usually costs $100 maybe. And you can get it all done. I don't usually recommend like services for that because the services ask you all the same information that your state and the IRS will ask you. They just make it look prettier. So there's nothing like functionally better about using a service to set up your business because it's all the same sheets and papers and signatures that you're signing anyways. They just make it look a little bit prettier. So I recommend doing it yourself. Usually it's about $100 to file like an LLC. I think some states you can get like a sole proprietor just for free. You just tell them that you're a sole proprietor and you can do that for free. And it doesn't really matter which one you choose when you're first starting. You can always change it later. That's not a big deal. I would recommend talking to the accountant as far as like which one is the most beneficial for you. But in just getting like the information that we need for sales tax, I'll say for sales tax issues, it doesn't really matter what you get. So whether you get sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp, whatever it is, you're going to need to get that. Then with your newly formed business entity, you're going to need to go to the IRS's website and get yourself an EIN number using your business information. Your EIN number is sort of like a social security card for your business. Okay, so it's a number, only your business has it. It's specific to that. All right. Once you have your EIN number, then you can take your EIN number and go back to your state's website. So in Florida, for example, it is the floridarevenue.com. Okay. So for me, since I'm in Florida, I would go to floridarevenue.com and I'm looking for the reseller tax certificate area. Okay. Once you're there, you plug in your EIN number for your business, plug in your address, blah, 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 and you will get your reseller certificate. So again, I know I mentioned this, every state calls it something different. In Florida, it's the Florida Annual Resale Certificate for Sales Tax. Okay. Once you have that, I would recommend printing off or copying probably 20 or so copies of this paper that you'll get in the mail, or if you print it, print off a bunch of copies. Okay. I would recommend having a bunch of copies because when you bring it to stores, let's say you go to Burlington Coat Factory, for example. Burlington Coat Factory usually is really good about accepting the reseller tax exempt cards, but they don't have a system to record your data. And so in order for them to actually give you like the tax exempt purchase and not charge you sales tax, they have to keep this information. So keep a bunch of extra copies in your glove box of your car. And when you go to the store, just take one inside, put it in your pocket. And then you can tell them, here's the card, tax exempt, do what you got to do. And if they don't understand, then have them ask for a manager, because sometimes low-level employees, if they were just hired, they've never done tax exempt. But managers will always understand what's going on. So there are some stores who will not accept this because they're not, I guess, reseller friendly would be the term. In general, the two major stores that people will talk about that don't accept it are Target and Kohl's. I wouldn't bother talking to any managers about this reseller tax certificate because at a corporate level, they don't allow resellers. And so since all this tax stuff is sort of, it goes upstream to the corporate level, they don't want corporate to know that they're selling to resellers. That's basically why they don't accept it. So don't bother with those two stores, but any other store, go ahead and try. Some stores like Ross it depended on the manager. Like some managers was like, oh yeah, not a problem. Other managers, oh, we don't do that. So uh, it's sort of your mileage may vary. It's a YMMV type thing. But just try it at whatever stores you're going to. Make sure you're bringing copies and give them a copy to keep. All right. So the last thing I wanted to touch on really quick was also insurance. So again, this is a brand new year. Let's get all of our ducks in a row. Let's get like our business formed. We've got our taxes, our business taxes set up. We've got our sales tax set up. Let's get insurance. Make sure everything is good to go for 2020 to make this a successful business here for you. You want to treat this like a business, not like a hobby, and it will treat you like a business instead of a hobby. Okay. That's sort of the nature of Amazon. So with insurance, Amazon has a bunch of requirements. You should go to sellercentral.com and just do a search for insurance and read what their requirements are. Figure out, decide for yourself. You don't need to listen to me. You don't need to listen to anyone else. Read the rules for yourself and figure out if you personally need insurance for your business. Now, I will say in general, if you're selling things like baby stuff, if you're selling stuff that goes on your skin or in your body, you should probably get insurance because a lot of people in the US are very sue happy. All right. And if something goes down and there's a lawsuit involved, you will get involved. Okay. And you need to provide that insurance if that were to happen. So I would recommend if you're selling these types of things that people tend to sue over, then yeah, you're going to need to get insurance or you personally are going to be held liable for a lot of these different things. Okay. So insurance, the requirements of it, it's like a $1 million policy. It's umbrella insurance or business liability insurance. You can check with like whoever gives you car insurance or home insurance, check with them first, see if they can offer it. Just make sure that what they offer fits exactly what Amazon requires. If they don't, then look online. Just do a Google search for like Amazon insurance requirements or Amazon approved insurance, things like that. You can Google is your friend for this. There's a lot of places to do it. We are actually talking to an accountant, to some insurance people about possibly coming into the group. We'll see if it happens and they could give us some more info. But just as a general blanket statement, go to Google, do some searches. As long as you are following Amazon's requirements, then you're good to go. But make sure you're double checking Amazon's requirements. Okay. All right, guys. I hope that this video helped. Sorry that we had to go over some more boring topics today, but hey, that's the life of a business owner. Sometimes things are fun and sometimes things are boring. All right. All right. We'll see you there, guys. Hustle on.